Alright you guys, so this video has taken up most of my time when it comes to making these. That's kind of one of the reasons why I took so long making the finale or ending video of The Last of Us Part 2 and why videos haven't really been coming out on my channel. This is pretty much why that is. So let me get the intro out of the way. My honest opinion on this game is I loved it. I loved every single moment of it and every single encounter, every single little detail that Naughty Dog has put into this game. I 100% loved. There are, and I will address those throughout the video, a large amount of things that are really making the entire player base split on this game. And one of those things, so I can already address it now, is, spoiler alert, Joel's death.
Joel, please get up!
No! People aren't happy with how it was executed. Other people aren't happy with the very fact that it happened. Other people understand why it happened. Other people think it's out of character for Joel. But I'll address my own opinion later on in the video. And I even am going to have a discussion with a friend of mine who has not played the game but has seen reviews and seen all the leaks and spoilers, so he knew what was going to happen going in, as to where I didn't know a single thing going into the game. Now, with that being said, it's going to be a discussion with me, someone who has played the game and went in completely blind and got a fresh mindset going right in and coming out loving it. And as him, he is also a fan of the first one, with him being someone who saw the leaks. So it's going to be more of the players who have seen the leaks and decided not to play the game, and the people who have played the game and understand why, because in my opinion, there are a lot of tiny little details that if you don't play the game, you're not going to really understand it, even if you have seen the leaks. So with that being said, let's just get right on to this video. Alright you guys, so this is going to be the discussion portion of the video. I am joined here with my friend Thief.
Hello.
And we are going to pretty much speak our own opinions of the game. Obviously my opinion is going to be way different from his because he doesn't really like the game all that much. So without further ado, we're going to discuss things such as the story, the gameplay. I will go on tangents on how I believe the game could have been better in certain circumstances, and pretty much why I think the game is a great, why I think it's great. And then he is pretty much going to shoot all that down with his own opinions. So pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So without further ado guys, let's get right into talking about the story. So what did you think? Okay, did you see the opening of the game?
I watched the whole game. I'll be honest, I did forget a good amount, but the big story beats, big certain aspects, things that happen in the story, the big important parts at least, I do remember.
Okay, so
the small minor parts quite vaguely. You might have to remind me of something.
Yeah, okay, so the game obviously starts off with Joel and Tommy talking about what happened in the previous game. It's literally a straight continuation. So once you beat the first one and you slap in the second one, it's right on beat with the other game. So then they go back to Jackson or whatever, and then Joel and Ellie start talking, and I noticed this when I played it for the first time, that it's very awkward between the two. You can feel the tension, as Joel he says I believe he says just checking in, folks are saying that you're doing great or whatever, and it's just really awkward between the two. And I think to myself, at the end of the first game, Ellie tells Joel, swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true. So do you have any thoughts on that entire thing, on how they connect, how pretty much why is it awkward between the two, even though they were somewhat kind of fine at the end of the first game?
That I didn't mind as much, that aspect. I think it was really awkward. It was awkward, or perceived to be awkward, mainly because maybe Ellie could sense that Joel was lying. and maybe it's just the thought of Joel lying to her that just made it feel tense for him, and thus made it awkward. I'm guessing.
Because like just that scene alone was like, oh yeah, obviously, because obviously Neil Druckmann, he kept saying like, we're gonna see how their relationship is in this game, and it's way different from the first game, because first game, Ellie and Joel are obviously, they don't like each other at first, and then they eventually grow that fatherly daughter bond. Now, obviously this video is containing a lot of spoilers, and if you haven't beaten the game or seen what happened, then honestly, what are you doing? Now 2 hours into, or like 2 hours playing in, you see Jesse, Dina, like pretty much Tommy's settlement and how everything's going good, and Ellie even joins in a game with like kids, to play some, a snowball fight pretty much.
Like
and
a snowball fight.
yeah, and
that's what it was.
like it's pretty much all go fun and happy, and like they're all cracking jokes. Dina's even like swears by accident and stuff like that. So like you think like after, okay, so obviously Ellie is like great having people around, and they're obviously great with kids because they're playing snowball. Then again, Ellie didn't want to play. She kind of just got hit straight in the chest. But still, you think Ellie, 14-year-old self Ellie, would just straight up be like, yeah, I will play with kids with my possible love interest? Like, you think Ellie has softened over the years as well as Joel?
So I guess it depends. Do you know how much time was in between the first and the last game? Because I don't think it's like directly after. I think there's like a
okay. So
months something.
So the beginning,
space in between.
The beginning cutscene takes place right after the first game. Right after, like, or at least a couple.
Right after.
No. It takes place like about. I'm gonna say roughly a month. They don't really specify how long. They just like pretty much throw it in there. So it's up for debate. Yeah. But then it jumps.
I feel like the Joel's looks, you could probably take a guess. Same with Ellie, just like by the way they looked, you could probably take a guess.
Yeah, and then again,
couple of months, maybe
it says I'm actually thinking a year, because Ellie's 19 in the game, and if at the end of the first one she was 14, and
5 years then.
It's probably been 5 years, so it's 1 year after.
Yeah.
And then after that 1 year or whatever, 4 years pass, and then everything. But within that 4 years, obviously a lot has happened, but we'll get back to that later on in the video. So you play the game and everything's going great. You play as Ellie for a bit, you go out with Dina to go hunting, but then the game cuts and you get put into a cabin and you're with like a bunch of new random people. And then you discover, oh, there's a second playable character. And then in my, like me, when I first played that scene, I was like, oh, is this going to be like Left Behind or something where I cut between two different characters or something like that? Or two different timelines, if that makes sense. What did you think when the new character, Abby, was introduced?
Well, I already knew, as soon as like the perspective switched, I already knew like who this was. It was fucking Abby. She was gonna kill Joel. I just knew what was gonna happen. I just didn't like it, and that's purely because I just knew like what was gonna happen. If I didn't know what I'd liked anymore, I guess I wouldn't have minded. But there wasn't really anything in her. Like when you start playing as her, there was nothing really there to really hook me to her, to make her interesting. She just seemed like a random character. Like if I didn't know what happened, I don't think I would have cared. Not that I would have hated her, say, oh, why am I doing this? This is stupid. I would just been indifferent. I'm just like, I'd rather play as Ellie or Joel, but if I play this person, then okay, I guess.
Yeah, and when I got control of Abby, I was like, okay, we're playing as a new person. There's new people around. I'm like, okay, so like I'm assuming these people are gonna meet up with Ellie or something. Like I like literally playing the game, I honestly forgot about the whole like point of it. Like the theme is hate and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, things are gonna be fun. Things are gonna be great. Then they show up at Tommy's town or whatever, and they're saying like, oh, you think he's there? And they're being really vague about it. And even me thinking, I thought, are they looking for Joel? And I thought, could these guys potentially be Fireflies? Then, Owen tells Abby some stuff, which is honestly not really that important yet. Then Abby goes off on her own to look for some patrols to get, a location on Joel or whatever. Or who we're supposed to assume is like Joel or Tommy or something like that. Then we cut back to Ellie and Dina, and it's more little character development between the two. Like they talk, they have a great time together because they're obviously really into each other. And it's weird because a lot of people hated the game simply because you played as a lesbian main character. People thought Abby was trans.
I don't think it's accurate to say a lot of people or a majority.
Well, I mean, not like I'm not gonna say okay, yeah, it's true. Like not like half the player base, but there was like a small amount of people who didn't like it because of that. And honestly, I think that's really dumb because like what the heck?
That is a fucked up reason. Like you didn't like playing as a character because she's woman or she's lesbian or because they're gay or whatever. That's a stupid reason.
Yes.
If you have a genuine reason, I don't like this character because they're unlikable, then it's fair enough. But
yeah, so
that's a stupid reason.
So I was like, okay, it's pretty that's pretty messed up. But obviously, I didn't really think too much about that because I loved Ellie and I knew that she was obviously into girls because of the Left Behind DLC.
Yeah.
And I was like,
the DLC,
yeah, and I was like, yes, I love it. That's great. And then Ellie and Dina, you just go off on a little adventure, and then they find like a little weed farm at a certain point, and then they're like, yo, this is like this one guy, I forgot what his name was, but it was like, oh, this is his weed farm. They smoke some weed, and then they have some not safe for work time, and then it cuts to you playing as Abby. And when it cut, oh my god, like literally the cut was like perfect because it just throws you straight into like a scene where you're running from a horde of infected. And I'm like, oh shit. Like playing that scene, I died a couple times and I was like, oh my god. Then you're like, eventually you get to a point where you're crawling under a gate and you're like, oh my god. And then one runner gets you and you're like, okay, I need someone to save me. I was like, where's my hero? And when I said that, I was thinking of the guy like Abby was with, Owen. Then someone the infected gets shot, and I was like, oh, it's probably them. And then once I saw Joel, like you can hear my reaction in the video, it was just like, oh my god, it's Joel and Tommy. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And obviously, me being a gamer who is disabled to the point where like I can't really see that much, it's harder to see facial expressions like when it's super like vague. So I did not notice that whenever they got to safety and Tommy says, I'm Tommy, that's my brother Joel, Abby looks at Joel and she's like and like they're like, in your name, and she's like Abby, and the way she says it, like her yeah, like her entire demeanor just changes. And I didn't think anything of it. Like literally once you fight the infected with them, I was literally like, okay, Tommy, I got your back. I saved Tommy in my playthrough, like helping him out, and then we got free. Like I was like, oh my god, I'm with Papa Joe, like the homie Tommy, like everything's great. Then you guys get to the mansion with the WLF, which it's obviously great, and then it's like, okay, we're safe. Then this is where the most controversial topic of the game pretty much kicks in my opinion. Like this is literally the selling point of the game, why people hated it and why people didn't hate it. So people believe that when they all go inside the mansion, everything's safe, that Joel and Tommy obviously drop their guard down a bit too much. And it's like, like why would you do something like that? Like Tommy, I can understand, since Tommy is since Tommy is he's been living in Jackson for years, and he obviously has like a family, he obviously sees kids around everywhere, so obviously it's reasonable that he is soft. But then people are saying that Joel, like 25 years under his belt being a survivor, just pretty much like it's dumb how he gave them his name and how he pretty much put himself in that situation. Like, okay, let's go into a house full of armed people who we don't even know, and like it'll be great, it'll work out just fine. And in my opinion, yes, it's kind of dumb how he did that, but I believe that obviously it's 20 years versus 5 years is obviously nothing, but I like to think that maybe Joel softened over the years, that, and he obviously what?
You're in the wrong room.
Penis.
Shut up. Like,
Who said that?
no one.
Was that the video you're making?
No. You know, I'm keeping that in the video.
Well, really, folks,
Oh my god. Okay,
Yeah,
what
put
was
the
I
papers,
what was
put
I
the
talk what was I talking about? So back to the topic. 20 years of being a
Uh-huh.
survivor and being like, like he's been on both sides, as he says in the first game.
Uh-huh.
And then people are saying, this is not right for him to just drop his guard like this. And then, obviously the 5 years that he's been in Jackson, people say he probably softened up. But
Uh-huh.
he, like, I don't know if you can use emotions to, like, fight the fact that he dropped his guard and stuff. But if you think about it, prior to that scene, he was going through not only when he lied to Ellie and she found out, but the fact that Ellie was like, I'm done, I'm like I'll go back to Jackson, but we're done. So he pretty much lost another daughter in a sense. Then he was obviously thinking, like, maybe he needs to be a better person because Ellie literally is willing to give him another chance at the end of the game when they show that flashback. So I think maybe he had a lot on his mind at the time. So maybe possibly he wasn't thinking clearly, and possibly over the years he might have softened just a little bit. But, like, maybe in that moment he was thinking, maybe I'll be doing a good deed by saving somebody's life and all this stuff. Then obviously he drops his guard, he says his name, and then what happens. He gets shot, Tommy gets knocked out, and then he, dies. People also say, that it's dumb how he died because they say, he didn't get a good death. Pretty much he died in, like, the worst way. And
Yeah.
I like to defend that by saying, as a lot of reviewers have also said as well, he did not die necessarily. In other words, he did not die a terrible death. Obviously it was a gruesome death, but it wasn't necessarily like, it wasn't a hero's death, obviously, because Joel's not a good person. Like, people say, oh, he's not a beloved character. He is. I love Joel. And seeing him go, I hated it. Like, you guys already know my reaction to him dying was, like, the worst.
Yeah.
But, like, when it happened, if you think about it, like, especially in the world of The Last of Us, even in real life, like, death is something that just happens. Like, you can't prepare for it. Like, there's no way that you can say, oh, this person's dying now, this person's dying then, this person's gonna die here in this place at this time.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no way to plan someone's death. So, death is swift, it's horrible, and it just happens. So Joel's death obviously was unexpected. It happened, and it wasn't one of those like, oh, let's like, obviously they beat him to a pulp pretty much. To put it, death is not something that, is planned. So Joel's death was like swift, quick, and it wasn't one of those like, oh, I'm gonna go out like sacrificing myself, going out with a bang. Joel, in my opinion, he still went out like a badass. Like, he literally said, like, he looked around, realized he ain't making it out of this, and he said to Abby, and I quote, why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed and get this over with. Like, Joel was like, Joel's obviously, he's ready to die. He does not care, but I'm pretty sure if Ellie was able to get there with the whole squad and save him, he would be happy because he'd still have more chances with Ellie to redeem everything. And obviously, him dying in front of Ellie is like, Jesus Christ, that's horrible. And I hated that scene. Like, I literally couldn't stomach that scene. I literally could not finish the video properly afterwards because I was in tears. And I still remember my sister found me on the floor in my room, curled up in a ball, like, just contemplating to myself, like what, like, why did this happen? Like, why? So that's at least my thoughts and takes on the entire scene. So what are, like, yours? Like, how did you, like, take the entire scene?
I think that entire scene was completely stupid. The fact that he let his guard down is extremely stupid. Now, you're arguing about him feeling emotional, wanting to be nice. It's good, but that Joel isn't the type of person to act on emotion first and then rationale. Now, yeah, fair enough. In the last game, he did save Ellie because of emotion, like, he was emotionally attached to her. But Joel's the type of guy to think smartly first, over emotionally. And he didn't do that. He just instantly gives his name away. Then Tommy, being very intelligent, just gives away. Oh, we live in this location. This is my name. This is my brother. That's his name. They just give away everything like that. I'm pretty sure in the first game, when Joel and Ellie arrived to Tommy's base, someone held them at gunpoint, and then Tommy had to come out and say, "Put the gun down. Like, I know that person. He's my brother." Like, these people, they're prepared and they've lived in this world for so long. They should know how to act. They should know how to act. It's just not right. All right, Joel was able to identify an ambush on a highway just by a guy falling to him, and he just instantly knew. Like, that's how you know he's a great survivor, because he survived for so long because of his wits. Because he's so smart and he knows how to get stuff done. In this game, Joel is a completely different character. No one's got a problem with the fact that Joel died. People have a problem with how he died and when he died. He died too soon, and he just died like a bitch. Honestly. And you're arguing about, it's, you can't plan death. Well, you can. Neil Druckmann made the game. He could have written it differently, so the death could have been planned a little bit better.
Obviously, yeah, he wrote it, and obviously it was planned, but in the world of The Last of Us, it's like you can't really you got to think in the sense of the world, not in the sense of, oh, I want this person to die like this, like, oh, I want Joel to die around his loved ones.
Okay, but it's a game. That's the thing. It shouldn't be up to because if something's gonna be realistic, no one really wants to play that. No one really wants to play something that's based on our reality.
Well, I mean,
that's why we play video games in the first place.
Well,
that's not to say that the atmosphere, the whole atmosphere of both games is like really depressing and dark. But it's depressing and dark. But it's also engaging because of the characters and the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters in this game aren't convincing. The fact that Joel was killed off that way, it's just unearned because it happened too soon.
Mm-hmm. Then I see. Okay, now I understand what you're trying to say. There's also a quote that Joel says in the first game. Obviously, when Sam and his brother Henry, Sam turns, gets shot immediately. Henry, obviously losing his brother, he's like, nah, I don't need to live in this world anymore, and then takes his own life.
Yeah.
After you play that scene, you go to the grave, and then, they start talking about it, and then what was it? Ellie says, I wish I made him a bigger grave, or whatever, or I forgot to leave that stupid toy on his grave. Then Joel proceeds to say, Joel says, and I quote, and that's pretty much the thought I went through that scene. Joel said, things happen, and we move on. And
yeah, things happen, but still you have to acknowledge that the fact that it just happened too soon. You went through all of that stuff in the first game, and you don't even get to play as Joel. You play for Joel for less than 5 minutes, probably.
No, not
you. It's in the introductory sector.
Not even
in the introductory sector. You just ride along on a horse, and that's all you do with Joel.
Okay, well that's fair, because I honestly wanted to play as Joel so much.
Exactly, people want to play as Joel.
Yeah.
People wanted to play as Joel. It wouldn't have been a problem. No one had a problem with Joel dying, right? Everyone I can say with almost certainty, a majority of people thought that Joel was gonna die. If you didn't think Joel was gonna die, I'm very surprised that you thought that. But dying halfway through the game, it would have been very unique. You start playing as Joel, and around the halfway point, Joel dies, so you're forced to play as Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you continue that story and you finish it off.
Mm-hmm. Now, with me, obviously I wish the game went way differently from when it did, because honestly I didn't want Joel to die. I knew there was a chance this man is going to die. Literally, he has so many enemies. This guy is going to die. But I wish what they had done is they could have. Okay, here's a quick little theory of mine where I pretty much thought of another scenario of the story. So pretty much Joel saves Abby, right? And obviously Abby not being sure that this is Joel pretty much obviously it's not even Tommy's not there at all, right? So Abby goes to look for the patrol, and then Joel comes in and saves her, and he's like, where are you heading? Then she points in the general direction. So then you get roughly an hour or so, maybe you can even extend it or something, to where Joel and Abby pretty much build somewhat of a bond for a little bit. They talk, they talk about stuff. Abby like pretty much vents to Joel about like Owen and Mal and stuff like that, like venting about like her feelings and stuff, because obviously Abby is like emotional because of things that are happening around her, and then Joel can obviously like talk her like through it, pretty much like another kind of father-daughter type thing. Like obviously she lost her father, so like Joel pretty much talks to her as if he was her father, if that makes like at least they bond like that. At least that's what Abby feels like they bond like. So obviously after like all that happening, like you keep giving like more and more development towards the two, and then when they eventually get back to the place, Joel's like,
I'll soon be free from earthly trial. This body red in the old churchyard.
pretty much Joel and Abby get like somewhat development. They get back to the Abby's place of living, with the rest of her crew. Then they're like, okay, like thank you for saving our friend. Like we really appreciate it. And then Abby's like, yeah, guys. So this guy saved me. It's like they're like, what's your name? And then Joel like pauses for a moment, and then he's like, name's Joel. And then Abby obviously realizes who it was, and then she's like that way when she kills him, there's like, it's not like, oh, I saved your life, oh no, I'm gonna kill you. It's more of like this guy saved me, talked, and like honestly kind of helped me through a little bit of some stuff I'm going through. But obviously the hatred overwhelms her, and she kills him. And then when like later on in the game, when Abby and like Ellie meet up, like Abby semi feels sympathy for it. Like, I'm sorry, like I got to spend some time with him, and honestly he was an okay guy, but what he did was like not okay. Like he killed my dad. He pretty much doomed mankind. And then they like, it would just, there's like so many things that they could do which would add way more like emotional weight to so many of the characters, and that scene alone, and it's amazing. Like that's literally like they literally should have went that route. And honestly, I'm gonna be real, they should have cut the game into in half, right? Give us like a 15-hour game instead of like a 30-hour game, and kept Abby's story as a single, like maybe Last of Us Part 3, like honestly. And they could have like worked the tweaks on that to make it better. And then with The Last of Us Part 2, they could have focused on Joel and Ellie's relationship. Like can you imagine playing a game can you imagine playing a game as Ellie and Joel, like it being awkward at times and them just trying to like reconnect, but like obviously sometimes it doesn't work, and then like eventually near the end they start to reconnect, but then Joel could die, or like maybe like another crew or like whatever, because like at the end of the game there's a group of fireflies, at least that's where we're led to believe. Then what if that group eventually stumbles across Joel and Ellie, realizes who they are, and then they get into like an epic firefight at the end, and then Joel gets badly injured, Ellie protects Joel, and then Ellie and Joel have like their final moments where Ellie finally forgives Joel for everything, and then as Joel like accepts it, he passes away. Because like honestly, that would rip my heart right out if I had seen something like that. Like granted, it could like, oh my god, Joel just died, but like it would have been such a more emotional scene rather than what they had given us, where they literally had us go on an entire revenge quest, and obviously the ending where Ellie doesn't even kill Abby. Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Like honestly, I didn't want to kill Abby because I got somewhat emotionally attached to her. Like obviously I hated playing as her at first, and I kept questioning myself, why are they giving us like upgrades and stuff like for a character we're only going to play for a little bit? Then I realized, oh no. Then
Playing for half a game.
yeah, and then I play as her for half of the game, and Abby's segments were
More, to be honest.
yeah, like Abby's segments were pretty okay and really cinematic, like with the whole WLF Seraphite fight on the Seraphite Island or whatever, and like yeah, but obviously people use the argument we're supposed to feel sympathy for this girl because she plays with dogs and she likes protecting kids, and it's like what the hell?
That's cheap.
Like obviously that's cheap, but like to me, I was like, I pretty much like understood like, okay, because Joel killed her dad, she's going to go and kill Joel as revenge, but then Ellie is gonna say you killed my dad and get revenge. Honestly, it's one conversation away from the game not even needing to be in. Like honest, like obviously you're not gonna want to talk to the person who just killed your dad, but like honestly, if you think about it in like a dumb like way, it's just a conversation away from both of them possibly understanding. And even people theorize like, you know, maybe if they gave Joel and Abby more and stuff and blah 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 blah, like more character together, possibly together, and then when Abby and Joel, or when Ellie and Abby meet up, it's like, I can understand why you want to kill me, and then Abby's just okay to die. Like she's like, I understand why. And then like, you know, it's like the game just like the game can honestly end like right there, like cuts to black, leave it up to interpretation.
That's what I mean.
And like a lot of this, like, okay, I'm gonna be honest, this game is depressing, like super depressing. No! Mayday! Yara! And obviously, like death is everywhere in this game, and people use the argument, you know, that we're gonna pretty much roll into gameplay here, like pretty much using the element of Ellie acts different in cutscenes than she does in gameplay. So this will bring us to our next topic, which will be discussing the gameplay. So pretty much in cutscenes, Ellie feels like sick and like super horrible for doing like things that she did. Like she kills Mal, realizes she's pregnant, and then throws up about it. She kills Nora, feels like, says like, you know, she feels tired and she's like drained, like energy is drained, and she's like, she pretty much sounds like she's scared of what she did. And people use like people say, and I thought to myself as well, Ellie's trying to be Joel in this way. Like she's trying to be Joel. What people use is like the torture scene when Joel was pretty much stabbing the dude straight in the kneecap and telling him like, where's the girl, in the first game, to when Ellie was trying to get information, where's Abby, and holding up Owen and like Mal. And you know, obviously when Ellie like throws up from killing a pregnant woman, it's like, okay, then she goes into gameplay and you kill a bunch of women who could possibly be pregnant, and she doesn't feel any remorse for it. Like, how do you go from being in a cutscene to feeling sick about killing somebody, to going, like, being in a cutscene, killing someone, not feeling sick, or feeling sick, then you go into...
She was just upset about killing because she was pregnant. That's it. It's not because like she was scared about killing her. It's not the fact that she killed the person. She killed a pregnant person.
Yeah.
So she killed a woman and a child as well.
Yes. So it's like, but then you think into gameplay wise, what if like are you like, what are the odds that someone that Ellie killed on her journey, that was just a normal wolf soldier, would have been like pregnant, right? Because I mean, they dispatched.
That's true, because they did add character to the soldiers. Like every time a soldier would die, they would scream out, like their friends would scream out their name.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, they killed Matt. Oh, they killed like Kevin.
Oh my God, they killed Kenny.
But they were like add all this to make you feel bad for killing them.
Yeah. So like, what if like one or two of like there could have even been just one. Like Ellie killed a pregnant woman. But then again, if you think about it as well, within the gameplay, when you kill them, Ellie doesn't really check if they're pregnant. She just kills them and goes on her merry way. And obviously to her, they're just like in her way, and she's just trying to get answers and get to Abby. So obviously, I mean, I wouldn't think twice about who I was killing. And obviously, if I found out that someone I killed was pregnant, I'd feel bad because like I just killed a baby. The baby didn't do shit. But then, you know, when she tortures Nora for information, she feels bad for it or something like that. She somewhat feels bad or whatever. And I'm like, okay, did you not throw her into a spore-infested room, beat her with a pipe, then proceed to beat her with a pipe? Like they don't give you an option there. Like, you have to press square to hit her. Like, I mean, if they gave you an option in that moment and added more cutscene to it, where Ellie tries to like reason with her, like, you tell me, and then like they talk, and like, you're the immune girl, like let me, like, literally, if Ellie let freaking Nora explain why they did it, Ellie might have understood. And Ellie even says, I know why you killed Joel. Like, she tells Abby, I know why you killed Joel. But we're getting a bit off topic. So the gameplay, they added a jump button and a dash button. Great on you, Naughty Dog.
Neither really work, but yeah.
Like, obviously, in my opinion, the gameplay was pretty. It's gruesome. It's graphic. The gameplay is graphic. I love that part about the
Yeah,
gameplay.
yeah,
I
definitely.
like. I love the photo mode in the game because I love like shooting someone straight in the head, seeing how detailed it is, and being like, wow, like this game, it's awesome. And
What was that?
like I'm pretty much like I love using the photo mode because like seeing all the detail they put
Oh,
into
yeah.
this game. Like that's what I
Yeah, there was
love.
an incredible amount of detail in the game.
Like that's what I
That's
love
true.
about the game. Like the environments, everything is just beautiful. Even in the first game, it was beautiful. Like there was even like cards and stuff you could read and collect, like the story of Ish and stuff. And like
Yeah, like little collectibles.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
it's like really great. And there's like a bunch of Easter eggs. Like the environments look beautiful. The characters look amazing. Like I use photo mode like every other second I do anything because I like looking at the animations that they do, like mid animation, like oh
Yeah.
how do they swing, like oh if Ellie gets hit, does she cough blood and stuff, like oh my god, like it's super like detailed, and like adding the gruesome gameplay just fits the world of The Last of Us. Like honestly, in my opinion, I don't complain too much about the gameplay because honestly, in the first one it was pretty alright. It obviously like I remember one time we were talking. You compared it to Uncharted 4, and in my opinion, Uncharted 4 is more action based. Like obviously, you're swinging from like a grappling hook onto a dude and slamming him straight in the face. I didn't even
Yeah.
I didn't even know in The Last of Us you could run from a building, jump off the building, and stab somebody with like your knife. Like I didn't know you could do that. Like I saw that watching someone else's gameplay, and I was like, what? And like the gameplay, it's graphic. It pretty much explains like this is the world of The Last of Us. It's them or us, and they don't hesitate. That's another thing that I hear I forgot where I heard that. I believe that was in Resident Evil 6. It's either them or us, and they don't hesitate. So why should we? Like gameplay is perfect. You can craft a lot more. Dude, some guy made a video talking about how much he hates they use a freaking plastic water bottle as a suppressor.
I mean, that's like, is that fair criticism? That's just like, that's very nitpicky. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, like it's.
The most important thing about gameplay is how much it innovates.
Mhm.
And the thing is, there is that saying, it's not broken,
Don't fix it.
fix it. Yeah, exactly, but with this, the gameplay hasn't evolved that much. They added a bit. It's not even a jump, let's be honest.
Yeah,
like,
it's
you
like
say they
a
added
hop.
jump,
It's like a hop.
Not really.
Yeah, it's not like Uncharted 4
It's
where
not.
you can like jump onto ledges and stuff. It's like literally like
Exactly.
it's the climb button and like
Like
a
it's
hop.
such a, it's such a crappy jump, and the dash or the dodge, it seems alright, but nothing too big. The most innovation I saw is like you get to use that suppressor, which is three uses. The dashing
You can also go prone.
and
You can also go prone as well.
proning. Proning is a pretty good thing, but it's like nothing feels like a big game changer. Like nothing changes the whole thing.
Yeah, like you
The
can like dual wield pistols
actual
or
cool
something.
gameplay. You can dual wield.
No, I'm saying like it's not like you can dual wield or anything like that. Like there's like nothing really extra about it. What I liked was that it's cool that you can literally like take your bag and like sort through your guns like while laying down. I was like, if they didn't give you that ability, I would have like died so many times. And like the enemies, obviously the WLF, the Scars, Seraphites or whatever, they obviously the AI is a little more intelligent than the first game. Like they actually strategize. Obviously they're more human. They yell out each other's names. And then what was it? The dogs. Neil Druckmann said, and I quote, he said, "You can play the game and not kill any dogs." Lies. All lies. Because
Yeah.
there are scripted events where you have no choice but to kill a dog. Like when you.
And those dogs are literally there just to make you feel bad. It's
Yeah.
cheap, really cheap.
Mhm.
Oh no, you killed a dog. Oh no.
Or like you kill the dog's
that's
owner.
like first time. That's the first time ever seen in a video game. Not in any other video game have you ever had to kill a dog. No.
Like if you kill like the dog's owner, they'll start crying and whimpering for it. But then like you could easily be like there were times where I was like, I did not show a dog's death on screen until the scripted scenes, and then I just thought to myself, well, if there's just gonna be scripted scenes where I have no choice, screw it then. My dogs
Yeah,
bark as I
exactly.
say that, but like the gameplay, I liked it. It was okay. I liked how it was gruesome. That was my favorite part about it. How gruesome it was.
Yeah. I see that.
Like I loved how like I would get into a fight with like 3 guys. I'd dodge like a bunch of like close hits. There was even times where I would dodge and then my AI partner would shoot like one of the enemies. And the AIs, like the thing that they added, the AIs can be spotted. I didn't know that. Like the AIs are not invisible.
What do you mean?
Like the AI, if the AI, like your partner, if your partner is like stealthing with you, if
Your partner is spotted, the
Yeah.
enemies, okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
in those games that is true, your partner is pretty much invisible.
Yeah, like in the first one, Ellie's like a ghost. Like she literally could like stand in front of them, they won't care. And then in this one, like, and then when I found out that they can shoot and they can harm like your AI partner, I was like, yo, like that's new.
I mean, that was in the first game, to be honest.
Well-
that was in the first game.
Oh well, yeah, but in the first game, it was more of a sense of like they could grab Ellie and strangle her, and then you'd have to save her. Like they never could really, like
that's true.
like they never could really like shoot them. Like I remember I was with Dina and she got shot, and I was like, wait, they can shoot.
Like, it felt very scripted in the first game,
Yeah,
but in this game, it feels like a lot more, in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
It can be attacked at any point. Which, yeah, I understand that.
and I was like, oh my god, like this is great. The clickers are like the infected. Oh my god, the stalkers I hate because those things are like impossible, or not impossible, but they're really difficult to kill, especially since you can't even use your freaking like listen mode. It sucks. And then the clickers, as Ellie, you can easily take them out with just a single like stealth knife kill, and then with Abby, you can take them out with a shiv.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's really like, okay, they've lost all harm, because in the first game you can only take them out with a shiv unless you're Ellie, and you can take them out with your blade. But like it's not
Yeah.
like they're gonna just like, as you get close to them, they're not just gonna turn around immediately and see you. Like it kind of like it kind of sucks a little bit how they're super like not threatening. But the bloaters, Jesus, dude, like I remember my first playthrough, the bloater got glitched into the wall, and then I started shooting. I've encountered a few
boy.
glitches in the gameplay, right? Like there was one time where Ellie was like spazzing out on screen because I tried to interact with something and she got clipped on like a chair. And then other times where like enemy, like I remember playing the first game. Like the first game isn't perfect as well. Like there were times where I played the first game, I would punch an AI and he'd go flying across the screen, and I'm like, okay. But then in this game, obviously I expect it to be super polished, especially with how many times they've delayed it. Like I didn't expect to see a single thing, but obviously some things get through, and one of them was the fact that in my playthrough, literally Ellie would spaz out here and there, and then the bloater that I fought got stuck in the wall, and I just unloaded into him,
Yeah.
and then he goes to attack me, and I like keep avoiding it. Like you could play that scene, like that moment, till you run out of ammo for hours, or like for like the longest time, and not know it's scripted and that you're supposed to get attacked by the bloater. Then Joel saves you. I was like, okay, and I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. I only unloaded all of my ammo that I had. Then again, it is a flashback, so I guess it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Then there's the newest infected, which is the Rat King and the Shambler.
Stalkers on you as well, though.
No, the stalkers are in the first. Wait, no, yeah, the stalkers were in the first game. It's just in this
Really,
game.
man?
The stalkers?
Where were they in the first game? Stalkers
Yes.
were not in the first game. Who were the stalkers in the first game?
Okay, there was a scene where you go as Joel underneath the hotel, and there's like a bunch of like the stalkers are the infected that look like clickers, but they're runners. I don't know if you recall that.
Did they appear at all in the first game, or are you just talking about the flashbacks within the second game?
No, in the first game they did. Like when you get separated with Henry and Sam and Ellie, and you're Joel with Sam, that you fight some stalkers. They're not runners, they're stalkers. Then, okay, runners are the infected
Okay,
that...
I don't remember that very well.
Yeah. So then, in this game, the stalkers are much more strategic. Like, literally in this game, as you fight them, they will run away from you, and then, you'll have to, like, hunt them down. And your listen mode is useless, and it's like, oh my god, I hate this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's terrifying.
Yeah, the AI in this game does seem like it's really intelligent, it's really smart, whether it's both the infected or the human enemies. Like, they're really smart, they actually use tactics, which makes the game challenging, which I'll give the game props for that. That's good. Having good AI, not a lot of games can do that. Having,
Yeah.
like, really good AI.
Yeah, like, same. Like, honestly, I love it. And then there's the Shamblers, which are, like, pretty much, like, the ones that explode and they give, like, a...
Yeah.
whatever, like, it's okay, Jesus Christ, that's terrifying. Like, I remember when I first encountered those things, I was like, Jesus, these things are not okay. Like obviously I got through
Yeah,
them,
they're
but like they were
it's horrendous.
terrifying. Like they were terrifying. Then there's the Rat King. Like the Rat King boss fight. When I died so many times. It took me a good like hour to beat the Rat King. And when I finally beat him, I was like, I'm not playing this game again. And I'm already like on my second playthrough right now on New Game Plus. And
I know that boss was like really unique. It was like just all of the different types
Yeah.
of effects that molded
and
into
then
one.
and then it
huge
starts
one.
like
It was really cool.
yeah, and then it starts like ripping apart pretty much as you're shooting it. Like a freaking runner thing comes out of it, and then it like goes off. And
Yeah.
then, like I remember my friend was telling me like, don't shoot the runner, like just don't, like that thing has plot armor. I was like, okay. So I unloaded into the freaking Rat King, finally beat him, and I was like, this is awesome. Like I did it. But Jesus Christ, was that thing terrifying. And
I can imagine.
like when it comes to gameplay, in the like overall, in my opinion, the gameplay, I loved it. And honestly, I was terrified in multiple occasions, and there was even times where I was caught off guard and it was like, oh my god, why did you do that? Like it was great. Like honestly, I loved the game. Like honestly, if I could give the gameplay from 10 out of 10, it'd probably be like, or on a scale from like 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like an 8.5, like in my honest opinion.
Okay. For me, the gameplay was Fridays for myself, but I never actually, played the game. But I pretty much saw the whole thing, so I know how it runs. Gameplay felt very similar to the first one, which isn't bad, but again, there's not much, like, nothing like groundbreaking, something that like changes the game a lot. Besides like the proname, the thing with the suppressors, stuff like that, with the new crafting items. It seems like little tiny additions. Nothing big game changing. Like for example, a game that had like big change, like actual game changes was, for example, Doom 2016 compared to Doom Eternal. It's like two completely different games.
Mm-hmm.
They added dashing, like a lot more abilities. I'm trying to think what else. Mastery challenges, Predator. Like they added just a lot of things that you can tell there's a huge difference between the first and the second game. With this one, you can't do that as much. But like the gameplay, it wasn't bad. It's just I would have liked like more to it, maybe, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not bad. Like, I wouldn't say I would definitely like play this over any other like shit, like crappy game
Yeah.
that just has like really terrible gameplay. Like the gameplay for me was slightly better than the first, but then again there was like the mechanics like the jump, which is really stupid. Doesn't need to be in the game at all, which sort of brings it down like a tiny bit. But like you said, with the brutality of how it feels, like when you connect a crowbar against someone's head, like it feels really good. I'd say it's like on the same level or slightly better than the first game for me.
Yeah.
But it's not like amazing because I would have liked a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And enemy variation wise, I mean, you can't really, say anything bad about it, because coming up with unique infected nowadays is kind of hard. Like almost every zombie game has, the exploding one, the running one, the sneaky one. But the fact that they have still added it shows that they're willing to add some new stuff, which is good. Like new enemy varieties is always welcome, even if it's not exactly too unique. It's still appreciated. So I think, like gameplay wise, the game is like well structured. It's well done. It's like amazing gameplay, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't be like thinking while I was playing, oh my god, this is so boring. Like I'd be enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, I think.
Yeah, so that should really wrap up the gameplay section of the video. Well, I wanted to get that part out of the way because there's a lot of story beats to this game, so we're gonna go more in depth with a little bit of Abby's thing and like why people hate that as well, and my thoughts on Abby's portion, a little bit more of Ellie's as well. But yeah, so after that, then pretty much that'll be like the main wrap up of the video. So, obviously, people hated playing as Abby. People hated playing as Abby from, like, once they saw her kill Joel, it was like, okay, I want her dead. And I was like that too. Like, I wanted her dead. Like even before she killed Joel, just torturing him, I was like, I'm gonna kill, like, every single one of them. And this game, it literally changed me. Like, as I played it, you could like hear in my voice and like in the like way I like would do certain things. It's like, Jesus Christ, this game is like literally turning me into a monster. Like when I encountered Nora, I was like, watching the cutscene, then she like says, like, yeah, that bitch got what he deserved. And then I was like, Nora, you bitch. Like, I yelled it. Like, I was that pissed. So then I proceeded to get to her, and when I finally got to her, I literally laughed, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna kill this bitch. And then with Mao, when in the scene when you're with Owen and Mao, and you're like about to stab Mao, I'm like, just give me a reason, pretty much. Like, give me a reason, like, not to, but I'm still gonna put this knife in your throat. And then, that happened, and then I remembered, oh wait, Mao's pregnant. Oh well. And then, like, people use this thing to say that Abby's a terrible character. Obviously, Abby's not a good character, regardless. Like, she killed Joel. I don't like her. Like, they gave her kids.
Like, are we talking morally good character, or good as in, like,
okay,
she has, like, an interesting character that you care about?
Morally,
what do you mean?
Morally, I don't like her. Granted, yeah, she did lose her dad, and I would be pretty pissed if I lost my dad, and I'd like, okay, I want to kill the person who killed my dad. Like, I understand. But the fact that she expected it just to be like, I killed Joel, and now I'm going off on my merry way. Oh, all my friends are dying? Oh, no. Like, obviously, like, they should have prepared. Like, honestly, if they killed Joel, Tommy, and Ellie, the game would have been even worse. Like, that game is done. But, like, the fact that they didn't kill them is like, okay, they got that plot armor. Because, like, if they died, then Abby wouldn't have lost all of her friends. Then, later on in the game, Abby says to Ellie, you killed my friends. And then it's like, you killed Joel. But then it's like, he killed my dad. So it's a cycle of revenge. And people are saying, like, oh, Ellie not killing Abby at the end is like, why? Like, we went all this way for nothing. No.
Yeah.
Pretty much what happened is Abby, like, Joel killed Abby's dad. Abby wants revenge, kills Joel. Ellie and Tommy want revenge. They go and kill all of Abby's friends. They say, okay, we'll call it a day. Let's just go back home. Then Abby's like, you killed all my friends. She kills Jesse. She, like, pretty much almost kills Tommy. And Lev also almost kills Tommy by shooting him in the leg, pretty much. Then, what was it? Then they get into a fight, and then she almost kills Ellie. But then this is where people say that she's, like, a horrible person. Dina jumps in to help Ellie. Abby wrecks Dina and then holds a knife to her throat. Ellie says, please stop. She's pregnant. Then people say Abby's horrible because Abby says good.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion,
that's true.
It's stupid because Ellie killed Mal, someone who Abby was trying to be friends with. And Abby was trying to be friends with her. But then Mal was like, you're horrible. I hate you. And it's like...
Okay, yeah, but the problem is Abby is being built up as the sympathetic character you're meant to care about. How are you meant to care about someone that's going to kill a young girl that's pregnant?
I mean...
How are you meant to sympathize with someone like that?
I mean, okay. Well, that's true. Because, I mean, Ellie killed Mal and didn't know. But then when she found out, she threw up. Then when Abby finds out, it's like, good. Because I saw it as a, you killed my pregnant friend, I'm going to kill your pregnant friend. And then again, Abby lost a lot more friends.
Yeah, but that's like how you meant to sympathize with a character like that.
That's
not exactly a very sympathetic truth. That's not like, I like this character, they want to kill someone pregnant. I really like that character.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
But it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because you're saying it because the biggest problem with this game is its structure. I don't think Abby is necessarily a bad character. The reason, like, she seems a bad character in this game is because of the way the game's structured. It's the fact that she kills Joel in the beginning, and that you're forced to play as her, and that you're forced to like me now. I killed your favorite character from the first game, but now you have to like me because you're playing as me. You're dropping design the game that way, so you have to play as me. You have to like me, and that's not how that works. It's the equivalent of if we started off with Joel murdering people, and then we're meant to start off liking him. It's the wrong way around. You're meant to build up the characters first, and then have the big reveal of they're evil character or they're not a good character.
Yeah. Like, okay, honestly.
And that's what makes them interesting.
That's
because
true.
The fact that you like them in the beginning, and they do this one horrible thing, you're questioning, like, do I like this character? Yes, I do, because they did all this good stuff. But they did this one really bad thing, and that's what makes a complex and interesting character, one that you can sympathize with, and you can understand if they did something horrible. with Abby, you can't do that because of the structure of the game.
Yeah,
You should have started off with Abby and playing as her, revealing that her dad died in the hospital, or like something like that. You need to build her up, show that she's a likable character, and then reveal that Joel killed her dad and that's why she killed him. That would have had more of an impact. Then you could have changed Joel's death in return as well.
that's true. Okay, now I see what you mean. And then Lev comes in, and then, you know, pretty much Abby's like, you're right, I don't want to set that kind of example. Throws Dina to the side, like bails. But then she leaves Ellie to live. So I see it as like when like at the end when Ellie's like, okay, like, oh, there's a possible chance that we can find her and kill her. I'ma take it. She abandons her family and goes off and takes, she goes off and to find Abby. Abby let Ellie live not once but twice.
Yeah.
Like, killed Joel, obviously the worst thing she could do. Ellie, I'm gonna kill you, kills all of her friends. But then even when Abby's like, you killed my friends, and it's obviously like a big misunderstanding, Abby still lets them live. She still lets them live, and then Ellie goes to go get her again for a third time. And it's like, okay, this is the finale. This is the third last time that they fight. I thought it was like, dude, she let you live twice. Just let her. Like, obviously, she killed Joel. I wanted her dead. But I somehow found a way to like her, I guess. Like, I was on Team Abby and Ellie. I didn't want either of them to die.
Fair enough.
And then at the end, when, you lose your fingers, and it's like, ouchie. I didn't notice that Ellie lost her fingers until she started playing the guitar. And I was like, oh, well, that's not very great. Then, we get the final flashback where it shows that Joel and Ellie were going to forgive each other and try to get through it. And that's the last encounter they had before Joel's death. So, like, Joel, like, it's pretty much, like, and here's what I believe. The reason why Ellie did not kill, like, it wasn't because Ellie saw Joel and said, wow, killing people is wrong. It was because, if you think about it, it would have been a cycle of revenge. It's Ellie breaking the cycle and ending it. Like, Abby.
Okay, but if she killed Abby, that would have still ended the cycle.
If she killed
I would have
Abby,
continued the cycle of revenge if she killed Abby. Yeah, how would it continue the cycle of revenge?
Lev would have wanted
Because at that
to.
point she would have killed Abby.
Lev.
Lev would have what? Lev was unconscious from all I know.
What was it? I'm trying to think. Lev
Lev
would
was
have.
on a boat, just completely passed down a complete different world. If Ellie literally just killed Lev, no, not killed Lev, sorry, killed Abby, she could have just left and that's it.
Yeah,
And
but Lev.
the thing with Lev is it's such a minor character.
Yeah, that's
Do
true.
you really even care about you like really care like Lev gets like angry about it, especially considering all the bad things Abby has done.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then again, because, like, Lev, obviously, when she meets Ellie, or not, when, I'm so dumb, when Lev meets Abby, it's like, okay, I don't like, we're pretty much like, I don't like you, you're a wolf, blah, 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 and then Abby goes and saves them, does all this stuff, blah, 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 like, does all this, and Lev is like, okay, like, because, like, when Lev and Abby were together in the suburbs of, I believe it was Santa Barbara, like, they were talking, and it's like, okay, they pretty much tried to give them Ellie and Joel's relationship from the first game. So what I see it as is, like, if Ellie killed Abby, Lev would have eventually woken up from being unconscious, saw Abby drowned, and then, obviously, like, it's not like Lev is gonna be like, oh my god, I'm pretty sure it was one of these guys who killed her. But then again, when Abby cut Lev down, Lev said, I believe Lev was awake. Lev said Abby. Lev was obviously weak, but Lev was conscious and alive. Then they go to the boat and
Like somewhat conscious, like mostly passed out.
Yeah. So then
it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Like
so then Abby's like, yes. So like Abby's like, I'm gonna save you. Ellie's like, we need to end this. Abby's like, I don't want to do this. They fight, and they leave. Obviously, Lev knows about who. Like, Lev was like, okay, I'm gonna go with Abby. Abby and Lev went to go fight Tommy, and then Jesse, Dina, and Ellie, and Lev knows their faces. And then obviously when Tommy was yelling like, Ellie, don't you dare, Lev knows Ellie's name. So obviously, in this, like, they found Joel, like, they know his name, Joel Miller, but it's not like they're
Yeah.
keeping files of him. Like, if anything, it's like, oh, who did this? It's that straggler, Joel Miller. Okay. Do you guys know anything? Like, oh, we know where his brother's stationed, Jackson. Like, okay.
Uh-huh.
Like, if Lev literally went to the Fireflies, right, after that, and got with the group of Fireflies, told them about what happened, asked them, did you guys know, did anyone here know about, you know, like, there's, like, a chance that one of the Fireflies would have known something about Tommy, and then they would have been,
Okay, yeah,
like, you
fair
know,
enough, I
they would have been
understand
like, oh, I know that guy, he settled down in Jackson. That's probably where Ellie is. Lev goes to find Ellie. They fight. You know, Lev kills freaking Ellie, and then the fucking baby grows up and to hate Lev, and then fucking, like, it's just like, you know, it's just, it would continue to till everyone fucking died.
Mm.
So, like,
Okay, fair enough. But the thing with that is, Lev doesn't look like a character that would take revenge. Lev doesn't
yeah,
seem
well,
that
that's
type of
true.
character.
That's
You
true.
could see in Ellie that she is this type of person who would want to take revenge. You could see it in Abby as well. With Lev, you can't, especially considering when Abby was about to slit Dina's throat, Lev was the one saying, "Don't do it."
oh yeah, that's true.
Even though that, like Abby killing Dina would have been an act of revenge, it showed that Lev didn't support that. She said, "No, don't do it." She stopped her. Because to me, from the way I saw Lev as a character, Lev didn't seem like a person who would take revenge against someone.
Okay, you know that's fair. That's fair. Okay, now here's the final scene.
But maybe they could have. That's not to say they wouldn't have. The
Yeah.
point is definitely valid. I definitely do understand that. You know what? That is a fair point.
Yeah.
But just like from my perspective, Lev just doesn't seem that way. But to me,
But, like, think
I can
about it.
understand
Like,
what
think
you
about
mean
it.
by
Like,
that.
Lev-
Then,
okay.
You know that. I mean, to be honest, you're right. It would continue the cycle of revenge if it was that way.
And then again,
Well, I'm
you
not
know,
sure.
then again, also, Lev obviously is young, so Lev would take time possibly growing up, and like as Lev got older, possibly learn to hate and continue thinking about Abby, like, oh, I lost Abby, all that stuff. Like,
Yeah, okay, fair
like
enough.
she,
Yeah, I
like
understand
Lev has
that.
no reason to go take out the Seraphites for what they did to her mom, or no, Lev killed her mom. Pretty much, they like Lev has
yeah.
no reason to go back, has no reason to go in. Like Lev knows what the Fireflies are, like, but as Lev grew up, Lev would have like kept thinking of Abby and how Lev lost Abby and how much Abby did for them. Like, you know, Abby saved them, Abby helped Yara until Yara's eventual death. Then you know, Lev was like, okay, as Lev got older, maybe Lev would mature and possibly learn to hate Ellie, then wanting to seek revenge, thus continuing the cycle. Now,
Yeah, okay.
obviously that's
I
just
understand
a theory as well. Like, but I saw it as Ellie just trying to end the cycle and just let bygones be bygones or whatever. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Hey, my dad killed your dad. You killed my dad. We equal.
Yeah, it'll just be like a big cycle, and I understand that, but it's just the reason I think people were angry about the fact that you don't actually get to kill Abby at the
Yeah,
end.
like you played 30 hours
is
of a game
because,
to not kill the person who killed Joel.
Yeah, exactly, because you're set up on this whole quest, and then at the end you just leave it. It's like, I'm trying to think of a comparison. It's like, I don't know, I haven't played the Uncharted games more.
Yeah.
You know, Nathan Drake, let's say, he's looking for something, and your whole game you're spending your time looking for that one thing, and then just at the end he says it's not worth it, and then just like
okay.
I don't know, he learns that, you know, it's not worth it to go after that sort of stuff. It's just, it feels unfulfilling, and it's one of those things.
That's okay. Wait, hold on.
It's meant to surprise you because it's a twist. That's what it's meant to be. It's all about it being a twist. I don't think like anyone actually learned. I don't feel like Ellie learned anything from it.
Honestly,
I feel like that was
okay.
just there to put as a twist. You go on.
Yeah. Sorry. That's actually pretty much Uncharted 1 to 3. Like, Nate is like, oh, let's go on this adventure. Oh, bad stuff's going down. Let's not go on this adventure anymore. Let's just go home. It's pretty much like all like Uncharted, but eventually, like, you know, they give reasons for why, like actual like reasons. Unlike this one where it's like, I'm ready to kill this person, mash and square or whatever. Oh, nope. Ellie thought of Joel. I'm sorry. You go on. Just leave. Just go. And then, like, okay, like the final, like the last cutscene of the game, or the last segment where you play, where you go back to Ellie's house or whatever, and everyone's like, Dina and the baby are gone. People say like, like Ellie did all this and lost everything, which I'm gonna. Here's my theory. If you pay attention, Ellie was wearing Dina's bracelet.
Oh yeah, I saw that video. There was someone like made a point about that.
Yeah, like Ellie
Yeah,
was
I know what you're
wearing,
talking about.
like Ellie was
And
wearing.
she's still with Dina, but she just went there just to visit or something like
Yeah,
that. I can't
yeah,
remember very
like you
well.
know, Ellie was just wearing Dina's bracelet. Like literally, she was wearing like completely different clothes. Like she was all cleaned up and everything, and her wounds were healed. Like you think if they were freshly bitten off, they'd be like, you know. So like obviously she didn't lose everything. Like Dina and her and the baby are probably living in Jackson with everybody, and everything's probably good. Like that scene was her necessarily leaving the past behind and just pretty much letting go of Joel. Like she probably like I'm pretty sure she forgave him in that moment, and as she left the guitar and left, like she's like, now I gotta go find my own purpose. Because like Ellie's main thing was I'm immune, I'm a cure, that's my purpose. Oh, like Joel, father figure, like this guy, like being here with this dude, like is like another purpose. Ellie loses one purpose, which is her immunity, when Joel lies and says there's others like you. Then Ellie loses her other purpose when Abby kills her, or when Abby kills him. Sorry. So Ellie loses her like all reason, so she has like no reason to keep going. But then she eventually like possibly comes to the realization, maybe I do have a reason, like maybe to live my life. Maybe Joel wanted me to live my life. Like maybe Joel saw all the pain she went through and wanted her, even if it costed him his life. He wanted her to have a life that Sarah couldn't.
And that's why she would end the cycle of Ren, just so she could have that life that Joel wanted for her. Okay, I understand that.
So like,
I guess why that revenge thing just didn't work for me, because I think it would only work if you had found Abby likable and likable. If you like Abby, you would like the idea of the cycle of revenge. I think if you didn't like Abby,
you'd want it to keep going.
Then it wouldn't work, because you wanted to kill her, and the fact that you just told, no, you can't kill her, you have to like it this way.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't seem right. Maybe if you were given a choice.
Yeah.
That would have been something, even gameplay-wise, that would have been uniquely a choice. You get to kill her.
Yeah.
You get a different ending. Maybe setting up that Lev would come after you. Or you could, spare her. And you got that cutscene like with Joel, and her being like happy, and getting moving forward with her life. That would have been something nice. But I guess that depends on whether you like Abby or not.
And obviously, I loved the game. Like the characters, I didn't get it wasn't like when Joel died, I cried. When other characters died, I was like upset that they died. Like obviously, you guys saw the montage I put where everyone died. I screamed so many names. But with Joel, I just couldn't believe it. Joel was the worst for me, right? That death was like the worst. I didn't expect it so early, all that stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like why? What I'm praying to God is that Naughty Dog releases a DLC where they allow us to play like either as Joel from when they get to Jackson all the way to the events of the game, or they give us like a DLC that's like 2 hours long, kind of like maybe even longer. Honestly, what people believe is that factions from The Last of Us, like the first game, the online mode it had, people believe that's gonna be its own standalone game. And what I'm thinking is, are they gonna give like a co-op story like with factions, like a Last of Us experience with your friends? Like that'd be pretty cool. But
That'd be interesting.
I want them to do like even like a 4-hour DLC maybe, where you get to play as just Joel, and you get to be Joel, like like just Joel. Like they honestly need to do that, because a lot of people came to this game wanting to play as Joel. I wanted to play as Joel. Like I wanted to play as Joel.
People just want to play as Joel, exactly. Yeah.
Like that's what, like, give the fans what they want. And if honestly, if like a year goes by, or like 2 years, however long it goes, like, and Naughty Dog doesn't give us a DLC, I'm gonna be very upset that we did not get to even play. Like we played as Joel for like, if you don't, because obviously you can't explore in the beginning. You just go straight through it. It's like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like one. It's not even gameplay. It's just like one long cutscene. Like you can't even get off of your horse. Like,
you just ride on a horse and just that's it. That's just not satisfying.
Yeah.
Considering all the work and effort you put into Joel, the previous game, it's just unsatisfying.
yes. Like imagine if they give us like a playable section where you can play as like Joel and Tommy trying to get away from the wolves, but then eventually Abby's like catches you guys off guard. Joel Joel gets like shot in the leg. Tommy gets knocked out. Like even if they made that scene playable, it would have been even like better. Like, oh, the person we saved, like she double crossed us, and then Joel would have been like
exactly just playing as
like
Joel. Yeah.
even okay. if they had given us that scene but playable, and like Tommy and Joel get pinned down by gunfire, and Tommy's like we saved her, and then Joel's like Joel beats himself up for like trusting, like it's like I shouldn't have let my guard down, and then like Joel pretty much like expresses somewhat like him thinking of other things, like his mind not being all there. So like pretty much giving a reason for why he let his guard down, instead of just like, because obviously we're thinking of him as the first Joel that we met in the first game. So like if they give us a bit of a reason to why he's soft rather than like, leaving us to interpretation, then that would have, like, the scene would have made a little more sense, like for why Joel was able to get killed. Like there's so many ways the game could have went that would have made it so much better, but we got what we got, and I was satisfied with it. Do I love it? Yes. Did I hate a lot of things that happened in it? Yes. I loved Lev. I loved like Yara. I hated when Yara died, because it's like we went through all this for her to die. Like, okay, 4 hours of gameplay for nothing, I guess. Then like as Abby, obviously Abby killed Jesse. I liked Jesse, even though Jesse didn't have too much character to him. I liked him. He was a cool guy.
Jesse was really a mind.
Yeah, he was like people compare him to like, oh, he's a sperm donor just for Dina and Ellie. Like, okay, that's kind of fair, I guess. I mean, but yeah, my honest opinion, I liked the game. It was great. Honestly, if I could, I would literally like have you play it, so you can at least just play it, because like I feel like there are like. Because like I feel like there's like small things that they say in the game that might clear a little bit up. Like I can't really tell you too much, because like I don't even remember like a lot of it. But I remember all the major story beats. Like Joel's death is still like a thing I think about honestly daily. Like I always talk about it. Like, yo, if I was Ellie and I saw my father die like in front of me, like I would hope to God that like the rest of the squad pulled up, and then I would have tackled fucking Abby and like fought her right there and then. Like if Ellie opened the door, if Ellie opened the door, saw Abby beating Joel, I would have just bang. She could have just reflexed, gun, shoot, dead. Like the game could have went so many ways, but like we got what we got. I'm okay with it. Game gets like an 8 out of 10 for me.
No, I don't hate the game. I know some of my friends think I hate the game. I don't think I hate the game. Like when I first heard about all the stuff, like my first impressions after I finally like finished watching all the gameplay, I did hate it then. But then I realized I went through it that there are actually some really good things, like the flashbacks, like with Joel, for example, when Ellie is with in the museum.
Yeah.
Joel, I was like one of the best sections, honestly. That was such a good section. Certain bits of the gameplay, the bosses, the enemy, how smart the guy is, all the detail, beauty of the game. To be honest, the fact that the game is beautiful.
It's a beautiful game.
Because pretty much every game nowadays looks really good. You know, Red Dead Redemption, for example, God of War, like all really good looking games. So graphics in today's day and age doesn't mean as much unless it's like it visibly looks bad. But I don't hate the game. I don't really like it. I think it's really disappointing, and like the fact that the way Neil Druckmann reacted, and same with some of the actors, like calling out critics for not understanding the game or blaming it on the fans, it's not the right way to go about it. It's just a matter of accepting that some people won't enjoy your game and some will, and I think just a majority were disappointed, and that's mainly because of the structure of the story. Might not be the story necessarily, it's just the way it was in the order of the events, like certain things were told. Like I just think if Abby was developed first into an interesting character and then she killed Joel's killed, let's say, halfway through the game, then it would have been, I think it would have worked out. I think that's the biggest issue is the structure of the way things are placed within the timeline of the story. That's, I think, the biggest flaw. Otherwise, I think like the characters are still good, even if someone like Jesse just get killed instantly and don't get much development.
Yeah, like Manny as well. He also was like brought in. Oh, he likes anime and stuff. Okay, cool. Gets shot straight in the head.
Yeah, so like characters and like the dialogue, it's that stuff is well made, but like considering we've been waiting 7 years and we get something like this, it's extremely disappointing.
That's true, yeah.
It's extremely disappointing. But I can acknowledge that like this game isn't awful. Okay, there's definitely awful games out there. This is not one of them. But for the amount of time we waited, and like how good the first one was.
Yeah.
It seems like it took the directions like Game of Thrones and Star Wars: The Last Jedi did. It was focusing on, let's surprise you with something and go on from there. Because the fact that Joel was killed at like an
2
hour or
hours,
so
like 2
into the
hours
game,
in, just
or-
2 hours
I don't know
in.
exactly, but he was killed pretty early on. The fact that Joel was killed pretty early on, it's like, ooh, what a twist, we got you there. But then it sort of doesn't work out because you're forced to play with Abby, and I just didn't really like her because of that. Because
Yeah.
I don't think that's how character development is meant to be done.
Yeah.
But it's not an awful game. I think if you're a big Last of Us hardcore fan,
Yes.
then like the first game at least, I don't know if I'd recommend this game to you because I know there's people like you who love it. But I really like the first game, and I've got friends who really like the first game,
Same,
and they
like-
played the second one and they didn't like it as much. So it's hard to say I recommend this game. But if it's like you wanna just play something, I guess it's a decent game. It's a decent game. It's not definitely a terrible game,
Yeah. Like,
but for what it is, a story-driven game is disappointing.
yeah, that's fair. Especially like Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy being things that came out before it. Like, those were amazing games. And then the fact that we got something like this, like, do I wish we got something better? Yes. Because, like, I cried when Joel died. That was probably one of the only few moments where I cried. As well as, like, the museum scene.
Yeah.
It got me really emotional. And, like, at the end with the whole flashback scene, like, I remember when I played it, I got Subway, so I was really happy while watching the ending. And when I heard Joel say, like, I like that, and Joel was happy, I was like super emotional because I was like, oh my god. And it was amazing. Like, my uncle even was in the room as I finished the game, so he got to see my final reaction. It was amazing. Like, yes, like, it's great. And do I wish they do a part 3? Yes. Do I hope to God that they actually get it right? Like, Joel says in the game, in the museum scene, when he's talking to Ellie about Jurassic Park, he says, the second one wasn't that good. And I was like, dude, that's some, like, yeah, like, that's ironic. And, like, honestly, if they give us DLC for Joel, maybe they can probably make...
DLC could fix it, I think so.
They could
because there are
fix-
certain games
yeah.
like either a sequel or a DLC has fixed certain aspects of.
Yeah, like, maybe a DLC would fix a lot of, like, the reason, like, a lot of, like, if they can fix why Joel, like, why he was, like, let his guard down, they can fix the entire death scene with Joel and make it more understandable, like, oh, if you play the DLC. But then again, like, I don't think it's right for them to make you wait to play a DLC to understand the story.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah,
So, like,
that's true.
yeah, but I mean, if they do it,
Well,
at least they did it.
Like, if... Yep.
No, that was it. Like, at least they did it. Like, at least they gave you a DLC.
Yeah, exactly. At least they... Yeah, that's true. At least they like, gave it to you at the end. It's better having something than nothing.
Yeah.
So, I'll commend them for that at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we'll have to see if... do you think this is Game of the Year material? Do you think it's going to be Game of the Year?
Compared
Do
to...
you think it's going to be up there? Do you think it's going to be nominated?
Okay, for soundtrack, if it's soundtrack, honestly, it should. The soundtrack was amazing.
Soundtrack was good. That's
Yeah,
good.
soundtrack
Soundtrack
beautiful.
was good.
If it's like
one of the
environment,
best parts.
yeah, if it's like environments, like, honestly, I'd probably have it up there a bit. Like, it looks beautiful. Like, there's a lot of like depressing, like, dark stuff in this game, like abandoned buildings and stuff. Like, it's a beautiful game, obviously, but like story or like Game of the Year, I'd probably give that to like Cyberpunk, possibly Cyberpunk.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think either Cyberpunk or Doom Eternal are like the big contenders for Game of the Year. The only reason I don't think this game is gonna get Game of the Year just because of all the controversy.
Yeah,
The main being,
yeah,
like the way the game turned out, and then like after what happened, all the actors getting like death threats and
yeah. Like,
that
that's
sort of
like
stuff.
that's
That's why I
terrible.
think it's gonna be problematic for the game.
Yeah, so
It's fucked up that happened, but
yeah,
like,
like, we'll have to wait and see.
yeah, exactly. We'll have to wait.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, I mean, with that being said, that pretty much wraps up the video, guys. So, honestly, this
Yeah, I think that's it.
this is gonna be a pain to edit. Honestly, like, it's gonna be a pain to edit, but I'm gonna do it
Yeah,
anyway.
good luck with that, man. You're just gonna have to cut some stuff out. It's gonna
Yeah,
be too
yeah,
terrible, but
yeah. And then I gotta just add in all the music and like all the the clips to go with all that stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys, like, honestly, like, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took me so long. This is gonna take me a while to edit. So honestly, depending on like when this is recording, this might come out like a week later or something. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop a like. Make sure you guys comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And obviously, I'm gonna leave a link in the description to a little short film I made of The Last of Us Part 2. Or it's not necessarily The Last of Us Part 2. It's just a Last of Us short film. Did you watch that by any chance?
I did actually. I did. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it.
Like honestly, like that was amazing. Like when we did it, that and pretty much inspired me to make more little cinematic stuff like that. And honestly, like I might do another one for The Last of Us, like another thing where it's more story. Cause I literally put in the credits me as the protagonist. So I'm like, maybe if I like maybe I can give somewhat a story to that and give me a name or whatever. But I guess I'll just wait and see. But before that, this video has to get finished. So. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends. And anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Not really. I think we hit every mark.
Alright.
Just if you have an opinion about the game, it's good to have it. Just don't shit on someone else for having the opposite opinion to you.
Yeah,
'cause no one likes that.
definitely, yeah.
Nice thing about this is we just had a nice discussion about, and you know what, I learned some stuff.
Yeah, same here. I also
like deal with like Lev and the revenge plot continuing.
Yeah.
That, I didn't think about that, for example. So I learned something from this. I'll be honest. I thought this was good.
Yeah. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.